Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling one of television's most passionately debated endings, Game of Thrones. For nearly a decade, this show absolutely dominated our screens, right? Inspired countless theories, redefined fantasy epics, but then it ended. And that ending, specifically the final episode, the Iron Throne, well, it sparked a whole new kind of war.
Yeah, it really did. We've brought together a pretty comprehensive set of sources for this deep dive. We've got detailed analyses of the finale's criticisms, thoughtful counter-arguments, defending its thematic choices, and a fascinating look at the wider context of its creation and, that intense reception.
Okay, so our mission is to navigate that complex landscape with you. We'll quickly recount the core events, what actually happened, then dive into the biggest criticisms that truly divided the fan base. Explore the compelling reasons why many believe the ending was actually, well, brilliant. And finally, place it all in context. We'll examine the roles of the creators, the cast, and, crucially, us, the fans, in shaping this show's lasting legacy.
Exactly. So whether you found it a masterpiece, a disaster, or you're still just trying to figure it all out, we're here to help you get truly well-informed on one of the most talked about finales in television history.
Right. So to set the stage, what exactly unfolded in the Iron Throne that sparked such a firestorm? Let's just recap the basics.
Okay, so the episode opens in the desolate ruins of King's Landing, ash falling like snow. A city just devastated by Daenerys' dragonfire. We see the sheer horror on Tyrion Lannister's face as he wanders through.
Yeah.
And the disbelief from Jon Snow and Ser Davos. Just carnage. Things quickly get darker. Grey Worm and the Unsullied are systematically executing surrendered Lannister soldiers.
Even after they surrendered.
Right. And Jon tries to intervene, but Grey Worm insists it's the Queen's orders. Jon's powerless.
And as the dust settles, Tyrion makes that just heartbreaking discovery, finding the crushed bodies of Cersei and Jaime in the Red Keep's rubble.
Yeah. Next, Daenerys addresses her victorious but now kind of terrifying armies. Drogon's right behind her, looking menacing. She declares the city liberated.
Liberated.
Right? And then reveals her global ambition to liberate the entire world, basically break the wheel with absolute power.
Okay, this is where Tyrion makes his move, isn't it?
It is. He publicly confronts Daenerys, renounces his position as Hand, throws down the pin.
Big moment.
Huge. And leads to his immediate arrest for treason.
So, trapped. Tyrion had that pivotal conversation with Jon, warning him that Daenerys is now the greatest threat. She'll eliminate anyone who doesn't bend the knee, including Sansa and Arya.
And this pushes Jon to finally confront her. They meet in the destroyed throne room. She's just sort of fixated on the Iron Throne, lost in these childhood memories about it.
And Jon pleads for mercy for Tyrion.
He does, but she refuses, resolutely. Argues her good world requires eliminating all opposition. There's no compromise.
And then the moment.
Yeah. In a truly gut-wrenching scene, Jon embraces her, kisses her, and then fatally stabs her. Yes. Then Drogon arrives, finds his mother's body. He's heartbroken, enraged. But instead of attacking Jon, he melts the Iron Throne itself into slag. A really powerful image.
Yeah.
Then he carries Daenerys' body and flies east, leaving everyone just wondering.
Okay, so weeks later, a great council convenes. Lords and ladies, familiar faces like Edmure Tully, Robin Arryn. They gather in the Dragon Pit to decide Jon's and Tyrion's fates.
Right. Grey Worm is there demanding justice for Daenerys. Things are tense. But then Tyrion proposes this radical new political structure, an elective monarchy, no more inheritance.
This is where we get that brief moment of levity, or maybe irony. Samwell Tarly suggests full democracy.
It just gets laughed off immediately.
Yeah. And Edmure Tully tries to nominate himself, rather awkwardly.
Only to be shut down instantly by Sansa. Classic Sansa.
Okay, and then Tyrion offers his, let's say, controversial argument for Bran Stark.
Yeah.
Asking, who has a better story than Bran the Broken? Recounting his whole journey to becoming the Three-Eyed Raven.
Yeah, the all-knowing entity who holds the memories of the world. And, surprisingly perhaps, the council agrees.
They actually agree.
Bran Stark is elected king of the now 6 kingdoms.
And his acceptance is delivered with that chillingly cryptic line. Why do you think I came all this way?
Gives you chills, right?
Yeah. Okay, what about the other Starks?
Well, Sansa declares the North independent, becomes queen in the North. A huge moment for her.
Definitely.
Arya, having completed her grim kill list, she chooses a different path. Sails west of Westeros to explore uncharted lands.
Very Arya.
Totally. And Jon Snow, he's sentenced to rejoin the Night's Watch. Sort of a compromise for Grey Worm and the Unsullied.
So the series closes with Jon reuniting with Ghost finally, and Tormund Giantsbane leading the free folk beyond the wall. And there's that little green shoot emerging from the snow, hinting at the dream of spring.
Mm-hmm. And the epilogue shows us the new small council getting down to business. Tyrion, as his punishment, is made Hand of the King to Bran. Sir Davos is master of ships. Bronn gets Highgarden and becomes master of coin.
Bronn, of course.
Samwell Tarly is Grand Maester, and Brienne of Tarth is Lord Commander of the Kingsguard.
And in a really poignant scene, Brienne completes Jaime Lannister's entry in the White Book, giving his very complex story a measure of honor.
Right. And Sam presents the history book, A Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah.
And the council just gets down to the mundane work of governance, signaling an end, supposedly, to the brutal Game of Thrones.
Okay, so that concise summary might make it sound straightforward, but it ignited one of the most significant fan backlashes in TV history. We're talking a viral petition for a remake with competent writers, over 1.8 million signatures.
Yeah.
It wasn't just disappointment. It felt like a perceived systemic failure for many.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating here is that the critiques weren't just about what happened, but fundamentally how it was executed, the storytelling itself.
Okay, let's start with what many critics cite as the primary flaw: the pacing, the speed. For 7 seasons, the show was lauded for its deliberate, methodical storytelling. Journeys took time, logistics mattered. But season 8, it felt like characters were just fast traveling. You'd blink, and they were across Westeros.
Totally. That frantic, compressed pacing, crammed into just 6 episodes, it abandoned the very thing that made the show immersive early on. Rich, character-driven interactions were often replaced by, superficial scenes just to advance the plot quickly.
And we know the showrunners, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, chose to shorten the final 2 seasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though HBO and George R.R. Martin apparently wanted more.
That's the story, yeah. And Kit Harington, Jon Snow himself, even acknowledged exhaustion was a factor, admitted he didn't have another season in me.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, a lot of dissatisfied viewers say they could have accepted the major outcomes, like Daenerys' turn or Bran's coronation, if the journey to those points had been adequately developed.
Exactly. One commentator put it perfectly. The actual events themselves, no problem with those. I think they'll happen in the books, mostly because it was so horrendously rushed that it made no sense.
So it's not the what, but the how.
Precisely. It felt like the showrunners were working from Martin's major plot points, his bullet points maybe, but lacked the detailed linking material or, crucially, the character development needed to make it land.
Less a cohesive story, more like a previously on reel.
Yeah, something like that. The core insight here isn't just if Daenerys' turn was justified, but how it highlighted this clash between the show's dark, deconstructive themes and maybe a modern audience's desire for consistent, often redemptive character arcs.
It really feels like it comes down to how the story was told, not necessarily the ultimate destination.
I think that's a huge part of it.
Okay, speaking of Daenerys, this one sparked immense controversy, the breaker of chains transforming into a, genocidal tyrant.
Oh, yeah. Emilia Clarke herself, who played Daenerys, she captured this shock perfectly. Said the twist comes out of fucking nowhere. She absolutely never saw that coming.
She cried and walked for 5 hours after reading the script, apparently.
Yeah. Her rapid descent was attributed to a series of triggers, right? The cold reception up north, losing Rhaegal, Missandei's execution, Varys' betrayal, Jon Snow's stronger claim.
A lot piled on quickly.
It did. But this raises the big question. Were these events truly sufficient to justify her mass murdering a surrendered city? Critics argue her turn was maybe teased via Targaryen history, the whole madness thing, but never properly foreshadowed through consistent character action leading to that point.
That's a strong argument. But, some might still point to what felt like a moral inconsistency in the show itself. Didn't the show treat similar violence from other characters very differently? Daenerys' past violence, crucifying masters, burning khals, often presented as justice, maybe harsh justice, but justice. But Arya massacring House Frey, or Jon executing the Night's Watch mutineers, those weren't used to suggest their potential for madness, were they?
Not in the same way, no. And this perceived double standard made her arc feel unearned to many, almost like a plot device simply needed to enable Jon to kill her. For many, it felt like a betrayal of a symbol of hope and female empowerment that the show had built up for years. Okay,
let's turn to Jaime Lannister. His journey was arguably one of the series' best redemption arcs. From arrogant villain to this humbled, honorable Kingslayer who killed Aerys to save innocence, he broke free from Cersei, went north to fight for the living, knighted Brienne, even consummated their relationship.
It seemed like the culmination.
Exactly. But then, in Season 8, his sudden decision to abandon Brienne and go back to Cersei, that was met with just widespread anger.
It was a shocking moment, yeah. He tells a weeping Brienne he never truly cared for innocence, a statement that seems to directly contradict his Kingslayer motivation and years of character development.
And this narrative choice also deviated starkly from Martin's books, right? Where Jaime burned Cersei's letter and stays estranged.
It did. Many felt the showrunners just never understood his character. Nikolaj Coster-Waldau, the actor, reportedly even argued with the writers over this specific point.
So for the audience, it was this profound question. Was this a tragic human relapse? Or just a nonsensical squandering of a great character arc?
That's the debate.
Okay, Jon Snow. For decades, the central mystery was his mother. R plus LJ was the theory. His confirmation as Aegon Targaryen, the rightful heir, felt absolutely monumental. So how did this massive revelation actually play out in the end?
Well, the overwhelming criticism is that this monumental plot point amounted to very little, almost nothing, some argue. It primarily served as a mechanical device to fuel Daenerys' paranoia about his claim, but ultimately it had no meaningful impact on his own character or his fate. He's denied his birthright, exiled north, an ending that could have been identical if he'd remained Ned Stark's bastard.
So all those years of foreshadowing, clues, the big reveal rendered pointless.
For many viewers, yes, that's exactly how it felt. Pointless.
And his characters in the final season felt so passive, didn't he? After his resurrection, he just seemed to repeat, "I don't want it," and "She is my queen," over and over.
Yeah, very passive. It left many feeling the showrunners, quote, didn't have a good reason for bringing Jon back in the first place. What was the point of his resurrection if this was the outcome?
He ended up not as king or legend, but as an exile. His true identity basically irrelevant to the history of the realm he helped save.
Which was profoundly unsatisfying for a character built up as such a central, pivotal figure.
Okay, let's get to maybe the most bewildering plot point for many. Bran Stark becoming king. It was widely mocked online, just memes everywhere. Why do you think that particular choice resonated so poorly with so many people?
Well, firstly, there's the perceived lack of character development. Bran was totally absent from season 5. Remember? Then he became this detached, emotionless, glorified plot device as the three-eyed raven. Not really someone who seemed capable or even desirous of leading.
And the justification given in the show. Tyrion's speech that Bran has the best story.
Yeah.
In a world filled with characters like Arya, Jon, Sansa, Tyrion himself, that claim was met with, let's say, widespread online derision.
Derision is a good word for it. It also seemed to defy the show's own established political logic. For 7 seasons, power was about armies, alliances, ambition, ruthlessness.
The game.
Exactly. The idea that these proud, ambitious lords and ladies would just unanimously agree to hand the crown to this strange, dispassionate boy with no army, no real allies, based on one speech from Tyrion. It felt implausible to many.
Yeah, it stretched credulity.
And Bran's cryptic line, "Why do you think I came all this way?" Many saw that not as reluctant wisdom, but almost as a chilling admission of manipulation, like he'd been playing a long game all along.
Ooh, interesting take.
And the elective monarchy itself, seen as politically naive, potentially setting up inevitable future instability, like, the historical elective monarchy of Poland, which wasn't exactly stable.
Right.
It felt less like a thoughtful conclusion and more like an awkward attempt to subvert expectations that just kind of became a punchline.
So Bran's controversial ascension, whether you like it or not, it forces us to question what qualities we truly value in leadership, doesn't it? Is it traditional power and charisma, or this quiet, all-encompassing knowledge?
That's a great way to frame the deeper question it poses,
Okay, but while the backlash was undeniably loud, the ending wasn't universally panned. Not at all. A significant contingent of the audience actually found it fitting, if bittersweet, as Martin promised.
That's true. And these defenses, they're often rooted in a deeper analysis of the show's core themes. Its deconstruction of traditional fantasy tropes and the tragic, cyclical nature of its world. For them, the finale wasn't a betrayal, but its ultimate, unflinching expression.
Right. The show built its reputation on defying fantasy expectations from the start. Ned Stark's execution in Season 1, The Red Wedding. They declared loud and clear this wasn't a typical hero's journey where good always triumphs neatly. How does the ending align with that philosophy?
Well, the argument is that this subversion continued right to the very end. Jon, the rightful heir by traditional fantasy rules, doesn't become king. Daenerys, the supposed liberator, becomes the final tyrant.
Yeah.
The Iron Throne itself isn't won and claimed by a hero, but melted by Drogon, symbolizing that the game itself, the endless cycle of power and destruction, was the real enemy.
That's a powerful symbol.
It is. And even the Night King conflict, built up for 7 seasons as the ultimate threat. It was resolved relatively early in the final season. The argument goes this was deliberate to highlight that the true enduring conflict wasn't some external ice zombie threat, but humanity's own destructive nature and internal struggle for power.
So by refusing the expected heroic showdowns and triumphant coronations,
the finale remained true to its cynical, perhaps more realistic, exploration of power. It didn't compromise on its core message.
Okay, what about Daenerys? The backlash often stems from expecting modern, uplifting redemption arcs. But what if her story was something darker, more classical?
Exactly. Many defenders argue her story isn't one of sudden madness, but actually a meticulously crafted Shakespearean or Greek tragedy. She's presented as a noble figure, initially with good intentions, but burdened by a fatal flaw. An unshakable belief in her own divine righteousness, her destiny.
A messiah complex.
Pretty much. This complex, combined with mounting losses, betrayals, isolation, it leads her to the tragic, and in this view, logical conclusion that any atrocity is justified for her good world. Her downfall isn't a sudden heel turn, but the inevitable outcome for a character consumed by her own powerful qualities and absolute certainty. It's tragic, not illogical.
Okay, let's apply that lens to Shimi. His regression was a major point of contention. But the counter-argument is that this wasn't a narrative mistake at all, right? It was a profound, if tragic, statement about human nature. Addiction, maybe?
Absolutely. His lifelong, incredibly complex love for Cersei is portrayed as his defining fatal flaw. It's like an addiction. His journey toward honor with Brienne was genuine, is deeply felt, but the gravitational pull of his lifelong bond with Cersei, it proved too strong in the end.
A relapse.
A heartbreaking relapse, yes, not a narrative mistake. His cruel-sounding words to Brienne can even be interpreted differently, maybe as a desperate, self-loathing attempt to push her away, to spare her more pain because he knows he can't escape Cersei. He dies as he came into the world with Cersei. It's certainly heartbreaking, maybe frustrating for viewers who wanted the redemption arc to stick, but it's a powerful statement that people don't always change for the better, and some bonds, however destructive, simply cannot be broken. It's complex, maybe uncomfortably so.
Okay, Bran. Yeah. While his ascension was widely mocked, you're saying a deeper thematic analysis sees it as philosophically coherent, even radical. How so?
Well, the argument centers on Tyrion's speech about stories. It wasn't flimsy, in this view. It was the show's ultimate thesis on power. For centuries, Westeros was defined by birthright, conquest, strength, the very wheel Daenerys wanted to break, ironically.
Right, the cycle.
Bran's election shatters this cycle. He's chosen not for his name, his army, or his physical strength, but for wisdom, memory, and his unique story. This fundamentally shifts the basis of power away from physical might towards knowledge and history.
So as the three-eyed raven, he's basically the living library of Westeros, holding all the stories.
Precisely. He is the literal, incorruptible truth in a world where history is constantly manipulated for power. He has no ego, no personal ambition, which theoretically makes him uncorruptible. He's the only one who can't really play the Game of Thrones.
Which makes him uniquely fit to end it.
That's the argument. And this choice isn't random. It has roots in real-world mythology, like Bronn the Blessed from Welsh mythology. It suggests that this might have been a deeply planned mythological endpoint all along.
Interesting.
By choosing a pacifistic, all-knowing, somewhat detached intellectual, the show makes a profound statement. The future lies not in swords and dragons, but maybe in wisdom, memory, and breaking those destructive cycles.
Okay, amidst all the bittersweet feelings, the individual fates of the surviving Stark children seem almost universally praised.
Yeah.
That lone wolf dies, but the pack survives. Creed really seems to be validated in their stories.
It really does feel that way.
Sansa Stark's coronation as queen in the North is just a triumphant culmination of her incredibly difficult journey.
It really is. She learned, often brutally, from her tormentors, absorbing Cersei's cunning, Littlefinger's manipulation, even Ramsay's ruthlessness, and transformed into this formidable political ruler. Her demand for northern independence is the ultimate expression of her resilience and self-actualization. It feels earned.
Definitely earned. And Arya's ending. With no one left on her kill list, She decides her path lies beyond the known world.
It feels so true to her spirit. She consistently rejected traditional paths, forged her own identity as an assassin, a survivor. With her list complete, settling down to a quiet life would almost betray her restless nature.
Yeah.
Her decision to become an explorer, sailing west of Westeros, it's a perfect, hopeful conclusion for a character defined by forging her own path and seeking true freedom.
And Jon Snow, his return to the North, especially that reunion with Ghost.
Yeah, finally. His return is framed by defenders as a true homecoming, not merely a punishment. Despite his Targaryen blood, his identity, his heart, they were always with the Starks in the North.
True.
He consistently rejected power, didn't he? He found his truest self with the Night's Watch and the Free Folk. So his exile is ultimately a release, allowing him to return where he truly belongs, ending not as a king, but as the free man he always seemed to want to be.
Okay, so to fully comprehend this whole controversy, we have to look beyond the screen, right? To the complex web of external factors. The showrunner's decisions, the source material situation, cast reactions, and just the unique nature of modern fan culture itself.
Absolutely. Context is key here.
Benioff and Weiss, they started as relatively inexperienced producers for a show this massive.
Yeah.
And their decision to conclude with shortened seasons, that went against HBO and Martin's wishes, apparently. Martin envisioned 10 seasons.
Right. And this fueled all those theories that they were just eager to move on, maybe to that planned Star Wars trilogy that famously later fell through.
Whether that's fair or not, it became part of the narrative.
It did. And they were, by all accounts, genuinely surprised by the sheer vitriol of the backlash. They expected a more divided, maybe 50-50 split.
And their inside the episode comments didn't help, did they? Like the infamous, Danny kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet.
Oh, that one line particularly enraged fans. It made them seem dismissive or careless, and they became central figures for fan frustration.
George R.R. Martin's books also play a huge role here, don't they? The show famously outpaced his books, and many fans point to that exact moment as when the perceived decline in quality began.
It's a common theory. Martin himself has confirmed that major controversial plot points like Bran becoming king, the Hodor revelation came directly from him. So that suggests the core, what might be the same in the books eventually.
Okay.
However, he always emphasizes the how will be vastly different. He talks about the different medium projecting 3,000 manuscript pages for his final 2 books.
Yeah.
And the butterfly effect of characters like Lady Stoneheart, Arianne Martell, Aegon VI Targaryen, who are completely absent from the show, their presence changes everything.
So the show's ending is simultaneously a kind of spoiler and a completely separate entity.
Exactly. It leaves book readers still in suspense, wondering how Martin will execute those same endpoints if he does.
And the cast reactions were also really telling, weren't they? Giving us a peek behind the curtain.
They were. Emilia Clarke was openly flabbergasted by Daenerys' arc, admitted she struggled emotionally with it. Kit Harington acknowledged the ending felt rushed and mistakes were made, but also defended it by stressing how incredibly fiffing tired the cast and crew were by the end. It was a grueling shoot.
Understandable.
And even Conleth Hill, who played Varys, was openly critical of his character's arc in the final season.
So Game of Thrones didn't happen in a vacuum. There have been other controversial finales.
Oh, definitely. Think The Sopranos with its abrupt, ambiguous ending, or Lost, shifting from mystery to something more spiritual. How I Met Your Mother undoing character development.
Yeah, that one hurt.
But the Game of Thrones controversy felt unique in its focus on perceived incompetence. That's the key difference. It wasn't just seen as an artistic choice people disagreed with, like The Sopranos, but as simply poor execution, a failure of basic storytelling craft, often attributed to that rush schedule and maybe a lack of care.
And then there's the whole phenomenon of modern fandom. The show actively encouraged theory baiting, right? Fostering incredibly deep online engagement, especially on platforms like Reddit's Our Free Folk.
Oh, yeah.
This created this hugely passionate audience that felt like they were co-creating meaning, investing immense emotional energy.
But that became a double-edged sword, didn't it?
Oh, so?
Well, it led to really rigid expectations. The things called headcanons, fan-derived theories or interpretations that became almost gospel for some.
Ah, right.
So when the show diverged sharply from these deeply held expectations, it wasn't just disappointment. For some, it felt like a genuine betrayal.
And the digital landscape just amplified everything.
Yeah.
Enabling petitions, creating echo chambers, and unfortunately sometimes fostering really toxic environments.
Exactly. It felt like a rupture rupture of an implicit social contract between the creators and the fans. A long-running series like this, it's an investment of time, of emotion. Fans understandably expect a coherent, satisfying payoff for that investment. So when major plot lines, like Jon's parentage, seem to become irrelevant, or character development, like Jaime's, felt invalidated, it was perceived as a profound violation by some. It led to moral outrage, a feeling of disrespect from the creators.
Okay, so in the immediate aftermath, Game of Thrones' legacy seemed dire. It kind of vanished from the zeitgeist for a bit. And the ending, for many, really tainted even the acclaimed early seasons. People stopped rewatching.
That's true. It felt like the magic was gone for a while. However, the success of the prequel series, House of the Dragon, has profoundly complicated this narrative.
Right, HDR has been huge.
It's been lauded for sharp writing, compelling drama, the very qualities fans loved in the original Game of Thrones, especially early on. Many are saying it has effectively saved the franchise, reignited the passion.
But what's fascinating there is the paradox, isn't it? House of the Dragon's success feels like an implicit critique of the original finale. Well, its strengths, having completed source material from Martin, his active involvement, they really highlight Game of Thrones' final season weaknesses. The perceived incoherence, the rushed timeline.
That's a really sharp point. The prequel doesn't erase the flawed finale. In a way, it puts it into sharper relief. It shows what could have been, perhaps. So the legacy isn't one of straightforward failure or complete redemption. It's more like a complex, ongoing dialogue between a beloved but flawed original and its very successful successor.
So wrapping this all up, what does all this mean for us? The ending of Game of Thrones remains one of the most hotly debated events in modern pop culture. That alone is a testament to its monumental impact, right? And the deep investment it commanded from millions.
Absolutely. It's this complex tapestry of narrative execution choices, deep thematic interpretation, and that evolving, sometimes really fraught relationship between creators and fans in the digital age. For some, it was simply a failure of craft, born from a rushed schedule and maybe some questionable decisions. For others, it was an unflinching, thematically consistent fulfillment of the show's core anti-fantasy ethos, however painful it was to watch.
Ultimately, the story of this finale seems inseparable from its creation and its consumption. It's a cautionary tale about maybe rushing a complex narrative to its conclusion. And it's a powerful case study in the influence, both good and bad, of modern fandom in shaping how a work is received and remembered.
Definitely. But the enduring passion of the debate, even years later, and the huge success of House of the Dragon, it proves that the world of Westeros remains this incredibly powerful cultural force that continues to resonate. It's not going away.
So here's maybe a final thought for you to mull over. In an age where audiences invest so deeply, not just in the stories themselves, but in the process of their telling, the theories, the discussion, even a sense of co-creation, what does the Game of Thrones finale teach us about that implicit contract between the storyteller and the audience? And who truly gets to decide how a great story ends?
A big question.
Indeed. Thank you for diving deep with us today. We hope this has given you a truly well-informed perspective on one of television's most epic and perhaps most tragic conclusions.